Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to talk about how to hit the ball a lot farther with a downswing move. Something that I see all of the best ball strikers do with how their legs work during the downswing. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to show you videos of them doing it as well, so you guys can start practicing this, hitting the ball a lot farther. All right guys, let's talk about how the legs work during the downswing. Now, in particular, I want to talk about the flex of the legs and how they change. I'm going to go through and demonstrate here a little bit, and then I want to show you what the best players in the world do. In a simple sense, okay, what I'm talking about here, if I get into my normal setup position, when I go up to the top of my backswing, okay, now, in terms of my legs and my knees at the top, my left leg has a good amount of flex to it. My right leg has lost some flex from address, but still has some flex into it. This is not a setup or backswing leg thing. This is downswing, but just to kind of set the stage here. My knees are flexed at address. My left leg probably is adding a little flex. My right leg is losing a little flex. I don't like the right leg straight, but there's a little flex to it. The point here is this. When you watch these good players, I'm going to show you a couple in a minute, during the downswing, all of them reflex their knees as they turn in the initial stage of the downswing. This is something that's talked about more now or more recently, but never was talked about that I heard of when I was growing up. No one ever told me ever once in a lesson, nor was I ever at a teaching seminar or anything where they said, hey, these guys flex their knees as they turn and extend. I'm not saying that no one ever talked about that ever, or that we didn't know that back then. I'm just saying I never heard it. No one ever told me that. Becoming more popular. But now when I really watch the videos, it's something that I like to feel. It's a huge speed producer too. When you go from the top of your swing, you watch these guys, both of their legs will reflex. Now they don't just reflex here and stop, right? They're reflexing their right leg. They're reflexing and turning, reflexing and turning, reflexing and turning until they get down towards the bottom, probably out or a little bit last parallel, and then they're starting to extend out, extend out, extend out, extend out, extend out. But they are absolutely reflexing both their legs as they turn in the initial phases of the downswing. I'm going to show you two guys here and kind of point out how they do it, what they do, and the timing of it, so you guys can see that the best players in the world do this move. It's a huge, like I said, huge reason as to why they produce speed. If you could imagine, as I come down, I reflex my legs, I'm pushing into the ground, which gives me something then to push off of and produce speed here. So watch this little clip of these two videos here. All right guys, so let's check out how the legs work here for some of these guys in transition. I'm going to just use a couple of the models that I have on the analyzer here that I would use as stock models. Again, we're noting the change of the flex of the legs and the bend in the knees from the really from the top of the backswing into the downswing, right? So obviously part of this is going to depend on the camera angles, and this is two-dimensional and stuff, but you'll be able to see a lot of pieces here. So if we get him to the top, which we'll call about right here, and we were to just kind of draw just a little reference point of where his legs are at, we're going to see with him and with all of the players that the amount of flex in the legs will increase, right? So here's his first one, here's his second one. Right, the amount of bend that is in the legs really from the top of the backswing into the downswing is going to increase. That means his kneecap is going to go from where it was in space here more forward towards his sort of the front of his toes, right? There, see how that kneecap moves more forward? And as we mentioned before, as it's reflexing, it's also rotating, it's also turning. So that sort of that right thigh, as you go from the top, as you watch it, down is going to continue to turn towards the target, turn towards the target, turn towards the target. There's more, right? There's sort of less of the turn in the early phases of the reflexing, and then there's more of it as we go. So look at that thigh turning, thigh turning, thigh turning. So see that knee is still reasonably flexed, and then he'll kick into his extension pieces past the ball. And I'm going to show you just a couple of different guys that I would sort of use just as stock models so we can see the same pieces. Here's a Hideki Matsuyama up to the top. Again, we'll look at the amount of flex here, and then as we go into transition, see that flexing increase. So see how much that he rebends his leg relative to where it was from the top. He increases the flex, right? Or that kneecap, again, for me, just as a 2D reference point. Obviously, it's moving forward as he's reflexing and turning. So the kneecap's here, and space camera's moving a little bit, but notice the kneecap goes more towards the front of the toes, and that right thigh, which I just use as a reference point, is turning towards the target, turning towards the target, turning towards the target the entire way. So as we sort of show you in these, and there's some other examples, there's a good one, a couple good ones from some of these guys from down the line where you can see some good shots. Here's a Justin Thomas, which he'll be demonstrating the same pieces, right? Obviously at the top here, not a tremendous amount of flex, and then as he goes into transition, significantly more flex in both of the knees. Once they get to that left arm parallel spot in the downswing is typically when you'll see, for most of the players, the knees will be matched up there, so they'll be parallel to the target, or they'll be in line or square with the target line, meaning they reflex from the top. See how much more forward his left knee is than his right knee at the top? Can you see that there? So now watch, by the time they get to left arm parallel, both of those knees are on the same line. Right, so probably he's even a smidge earlier. So that's sort of a sign of how much he's reflexing and rotating to get to that position. That's a commonality to me amongst the really good ball strikers who have good rotation. And I'll just show you one more from the down the line position so we can see. And again, these guys will all demonstrate the same movements. Obviously, the more they straighten the trail leg up to the top, it'll be a more dramatic looking reflex when he begins down. Again, just some lines to reference there. So notice how much more forward. I mean, look at that move there. So that's what people call the squat or whatever. It's really just their legs are changing flex. And as he's doing that, again, notice he'll go from here, he'll reflex in transition, and then watch that thigh start turning. Turn, 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 all the way into transition. And then most of these guys, and I talk about a lot, you know, from about the hands at about hip height, or once they get to about last parallel, now the flexing will stop, and then he'll go into his extension pieces. So he'll start to push off the right foot, he'll start to extend the right leg, his pelvis will kick forward, and his spine will go into extension there with the right side bend as he kicks forward. So the point of this is up to the top, one more time. We are here. In the early transitions, your left leg's already, you know, why I reference the right leg all the time is your left leg's already going to be more bent than your right. Right, see this? Because you bend your left leg when you go back, your left leg's already going to be more bent. So for me, I really feel like I have to reflex the right leg a lot. So you're reflexing a lot early, and then in reality, from there as you go, you're reflexing and turning, reflexing and turning, reflexing and turning, reflexing and turning to about down to here. And then you're extending out, extending out, extending out, extending out. You're probably not going to do that as two parts. That's what's happening in reality. I don't know that you're necessarily going to think about that. What I'm saying for a lot of you guys is to increase the speed, to get more compression, to get the ball speed up a lot. If you really feel like you reflex those legs and turn and do it a friggin' lot. Now, you got to turn with it. If you just reflex and don't turn, the club's going to hit behind the ball. You got to reflex and turn, and then extend. That is what all of the best ball strikers do. That is what you should do as well. Obviously, all of the pros, I could bring a million different guys and girls up, and they would show the same lower body moves in transition. You're really trying to key in on from the top of their swing, early into the downswing. By the time they get to left arm parallel, even into down to shaft last parallel, some of them, the knees are changing flex. They're adding flex to that right knee specifically. I just want to go into a little bit more detail about how that works, what to feel when you do it, and how to apply those things. Obviously, like I said, the main goal of changing the flex in the knees mostly is for speed purposes. It's for pivots, to use the ground, is to add speed with all of your clubs. I have a tremendous speed increase when I do this with my irons and my driver. The key point, something you have to watch out for when you go, and for me, I always feel when I do it like how the right thigh moves. I see a lot of people when they're first trying to sort of introduce a pivot motion where they add flex to the legs, they lose the rotation piece. They're so focused on rebending their knees that their belt buckle, chest, nothing turns. And then also because they've got closer to the ground, in combination with not turning, their club head typically bottoms out behind the ball. You'll hit fat shots. The key to this is as I'm reflexing my legs and getting lower to the ground, I'm also turning, and then I can extend out of that later on. So feel-wise as we go through this, obviously when we go to the tie, again for me, I don't feel a lot of left leg movement. Does that mean it's right? No, it doesn't. You may feel like your left knee goes more. That's cool. For me, I really feel it more in my right leg and my right knee. I really feel like I'm sitting into my right leg. I can feel and I imagine in my mind, my right leg goes from a pretty straight position into a pretty darn flex position, almost to the point where my kneecap will get like over the edge of my foot from the down the line. So from this angle, typically when I'm doing this, I'm talking about my knees getting flexed even to the point where it's all the way over the front of my toes there as I'm turning. So that's really what I'm cueing in on when I'm doing this. I go to the top, I feel like I'm flexing and turning, flexing and turning, flexing and turning, flexing and turning. I'm not trying to pull my arms down with it. I'm not necessarily trying to leave my arms up, but my arms are only coming down as a reaction to my body moving in space. I'm not going like this, right? I'm here and I'm flexing and turning, flexing and turning, flexing and turning. My body feels like it's moving a ton there. My arms and hands are not really doing that much in transition. And that's the whole point of this pivot, is to use the ground, push off of it, create a little bit of a stretch up here, and then explode off of it is the idea. So I'm gonna go ahead and do another demonstration of one or two here, feeling those same pieces. And I would go at this and just do a couple full speed. Now, some things I will give you a lot of different drills for feedback. For some of these, you just let it rip, make a swing. Feel like you really flex your knees a lot in transition and rotate with it and see what happens. If the ball feels like it pops off the face and you can control direction with it, then cool, you apply it. Some things with this I've seen, obviously you can do like the bucket between the legs. That's more to get the external rotation and keep the rotation of the right leg, but you can do things like that. But I just kind of want you to feel this, reflex the knees as you're rotating in transition. Again, the goal being more ball speed. Let's give it a shot. And so that one feels good. I almost inherently feel like when I'm doing that, like I almost can't help but swing a little faster. I don't know if that's because I know that it is supposed to increase the speed or not, but I feel like I almost just kind of ramp it up a little as I do it. So again, flexing as I turn, both of those together, reflexing the knees. And that just feels really, really, really good for me. So I hope that that makes sense. Again, for me, as I'm doing that, knees are flexing, front of the kneecaps kind of over the edge of the toes from here. And as I do that, I'm feeling like this thigh, especially during the bottom parts, but really the whole time, I'm really making sure that I turn my thigh and my knee towards the target as I go. I'm not trying to keep this pointed this way forever. I'm trying to do reflex from the top and turn. I'm trying to reflex and turn the whole time. Like those guys, their quad is moving the entire time. So reflexing the knees, like I said, something that I haven't heard a ton when I was growing up, more popular now, definitely is gonna work. Play around with that and just do it without a drill. Reflex the knees, see what your speed does. Let me know how you guys do. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor, click the like button down below, click the notification bell if you haven't, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do so below. Thank you.